Urian, what is up, dude?
How's it going?
Man, not bad at all. Not bad at all. How about you, man? Thank you so much.
I'm all right. It's the weather's nice. Skate weather again. You know.
Fuck yeah. What more
Um,
can you appreciate sometimes? Just the small things in life, like a little sunshine.
I know, right? I know. It's in Vermont. Like, where are you?
Michigan.
Okay, cool. So it's not too different, but it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
winters. It's like the brutal winters in Vermont. You know.
It's so funny because like we're at this time right now where we're getting to like the 70-degree weather. Yesterday it was like 80, but then now tomorrow it's supposed to snow again.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Midwest,
Yeah. I know it's gonna be
East
like
Coast.
50 degrees tomorrow. Which is fine. You know.
It's insane. It's insane. But we're getting there for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, I had to say first and foremost, thank you, for taking the time. You're a busy cat, even with your projects and your bands and production, you're constantly filling in and taking on different things. Was there something mentioned that you're going to be taking on something, filling in for a couple of shows?
No, I don't have anything. I don't think I have
No?
anything going on.
Okay.
But
I'm trying to think of, do you have something with like Queens of the Stone Age going on?
well, there's the Armed is playing a show with them in New York.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but that's pretty much about it for the most part.
Okay.
But
Still
yeah,
huge.
I
It's kind of funny. I mean, hearing that's just
like
about
the
it. But
stigma with Converge too, because like Converge is a band that I know as like never having a member ever replace it or like coming to fill in, and like I think when that happened, there's like this thing where it's like, oh, you like there's a band that I'm associated with. It's like, yeah, Ryan's gonna be playing drums with Prince, or like just like
yeah,
it's just cool. It's pretty sweet though. Like
it was so insane. Like I remember seeing the documentary and then seeing the whole like aspect of Converge having a fill-in for for that tour there, and it being you, and I was like, holy shit, like just crazy worlds colliding, in the sense of like going back and forth.
Right. Yeah, because like before that, Kurt's actually a lot of the reason why like a lot of the shit he's like kind of changed my life in like a pretty big way, from like the audio engineering world and into like the bands and music world too. But before that, like I like released a solo 7-inch kind of beat head thing. Like I made it for like, people to chop up and turn into beats and shit. And he reached out and was like, "Hey man, like we gotta hang out sometime." And I have this project where like I guess Andre 3000 reached out to him. This was like 2016, 2017, and was interested in doing a project. And he was like, "Hey man, I'd love for you to come on board for this too." I was like, "Okay." And it was just like me and Kurt kind of like working out these demos that Andre sent, and from that kind of like the fruit from that just turned into us like becoming better friends, and then like eventually asking me to play drums with Converge, and so on and so forth. So
shit, man, that is so insane. Now, I mean, as far as like with that and with like the studio, did you kind of have like a couple of things to run off from him when you were building the box, or was that more of like
there was I was getting into like so essentially where I am is in the south end of Burlington, which is like the industrial district. So there's like a lot of people that are like putting ships in a bottle per se, like there's a lot of like graphic designers and then a lot of architects and just people that are doing this tedious shit. And then here I am with like fucking massive Marshall stacks and the loudest bands in town practicing right above me. And for the longest time, like I wasn't able to play music until like 5 p.m. in my space. And I was starting to build it out. And Kurt kind of like, he was like, "Yo, you should check out this handbook, the Master Handbook of Acoustics." And then that kind of got like, I got into like building a floating floor and stuff, and like patting down the room, and like figuring out how the sound was traveling in the room, and also like trying to optimize it for sound as well. So that there's some help there, but yeah, I mean like before that though, I was like kind of starting to get into the studio thing, like one of my old band members and studio mates like ended up getting into jewelry making. So a lot of his gear that was left before I ended up like, taking it, and I was just always super fascinated with it. So
okay. I mean, was there any moments, where you're like looking into and really, starting to develop this where it was just something so stupid simple, where it's like, ideally this shouldn't work, but it makes, like the sound, just that much better. And it wasn't anything like overly crazy that you had to, build or anything?
yeah, I mean, like, really, just man, I that's a good question. Man, so you're saying something that's like, sorry, I'm just to reiterate the question again. So something that's like simple that wasn't involving like a bunch of shit that made everything better.
Yeah, right. Because I think I just think of like with studios and people are so concentrated on, having all the padding and everything perfect. And every once in a while you walk into a studio to record and it's like a huge open room and it's like, this shouldn't even fucking work. But somehow like it sounds
Right.
great in here.
Yeah. I guess like, I mean, for me, it was really just learning like where to put my drums in the room, because like the room is like, it's not huge. It's pretty similar to God City actually, like in size, but like um, for a while I had the drums just like in different places throughout the room, throughout its like different stages of build out, and finally like I found like the corner where they just need to live, where they just work. I don't know if
Okay.
that makes any sense, but like
No,
um,
totally.
it's just like they sound the best in that spot. And then I kind of built the room around, like I built the mechanics of the room like around where that spot is before like all the crazy
Okay.
shit and build out. But
Okay. It's kind of fun too, like hearing, from you being, initially like a drummer and then building a studio. I feel like a lot of times like drums are kind of a thing where it's like, well, we'll find a space for them or somebody that's, not like necessarily like
oh yeah,
totally like interested
it's
in it.
100% drum room. That is 100%.
That's
That room
awesome.
is built for drums. Like, I mean, I have a lot of drummers that just come to record drums there, and then
Oh, okay.
all of my compression, all of my like the console that I have, it's all like geared towards a specific drum sound that I'm trying to get to.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and yeah, I mean, I guess like also like when it comes to drums too or recording, you're just miking up circles for the most part, like a circular speaker cab or like drums, and that drums are the most complicated and intricate and coolest thing to record anyway. And it like it's the direction of the recording, like drums will determine how a sound is going to be, or like how a record is going to shape up to be. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's all the dad t-shirts, like the all about the drums with the 5-piece kit. Like I'm that guy.
I mean, do you find yourself like, and I just asked this just because I mean, from being a drum player, I don't know anything as far as like the recording aspect or going into a studio. I'm kind of an idiot with all this
Yeah.
shit, but
Yeah.
yeah. But as far as playing, do you find yourself, like with having that in tune sound for recording and for like the quality that you're going to get out of it? Is there a difference that you have to have as far as like for tuning or anything like that when you go to play live?
Oh, for sure, for sure. When I play live, I'm just like trying to not die. Like with the arms,
Okay.
I kind of like I tune my snare up just a little bit, just to have it be loud, and also just like to have the rebound
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
But sometimes what I'll do is like there's like certain shows, memorable shows where like the snare just like wasn't bouncing back, but it was almost kind of like a fun challenge where it's like I'm playing something that's not tuned the way I'm usually playing, and it's just kind of throw and go. I'm like, all right, cool, let's see what happens. But yeah, for the most part, like, yeah, definitely different when I tune drums in a recorded setting versus live, for sure,
Yeah.
for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Sweet. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as dialing back and earlier interests of yourself, kind of picking up, in music? You know, may it have been obviously a very musical family, but you know, maybe somebody as far as maybe your brothers or uncles or dad or anybody, you know, showing some stuff, and then it particularly, you know, bouncing off your ear and picking up that interest. Where do you, you know, where does that start for you?
All right. So that starts with the Minor Threat discography, straight up.
Whoa.
I was
Okay.
like, so I was pretty, I was really lucky to have a bunch of brothers that were like way cooler than me. Like the first recording that I remember liking on my own was like that Harvey Danger song. Like, I'm not good, nada. Like that was like the first thing that I was like, fuck yeah, I found this on my own. This is me. This is mine. I love this.
So sick.
But my brothers were like, they were into the punk scene and stuff. Well, my older brother Bobby specifically, he was a skateboarder, and we grew up in Jericho, Vermont, which is like probably that's where what's that show? Wednesday. That's where Wednesday's set is, in Jericho, Vermont, of all places. But
Oh,
it's like,
really?
yeah. It's like essentially like one of the whitest places to be in Vermont.
Oh, no.
And so like skateboarding was our outlet to like get into like counterculture, you know, to like find people that were fucking weird, also doing some weird shit, and that eventually led to the punk scene. But so through my brother, like, you know, that was a thing, and then I think it was him or my brother Jules got me the Minor Threat discography for like my 9th birthday, and during that time too, I got like my parents couldn't afford like a full kit, so they got me a practice pad kit. So I would just like listen to that on my brother's Walkman in the dark in my room in my underwear, just playing to like, you know, to Minor Threat lyrics like all fucking day, and it was just so fascinating because it's so fast and it has so much groove, and yeah, that was like that was a good part of my like a good part of a better part of a year when I was like 9, you know. And then like that eventually I ended up like playing in some beat down hardcore bands, and I was like pretty young too. Like my brother was also in the vegan straight edge crew thing. You know, I had all the early like Earth Crisis merch and stuff, and you know, the rare 7 inches and shit. I ended up selling. I sold those for quite a bit of money like back then too. Which is kind of
I
fun.
bet. Shit.
But yeah, so I was 11 years old, and these guys were like 16, 17. Like I was like the young kid playing in these bands, and I got introduced through like skateboarding in 242 Main, like a local punk venue that was around for many years, and that kind of like, you know, from that kind of oh shit, sorry, I got my phone in I got my phone. I don't have a clip. I have my phone in like a pint glass to hold it up. It's actually working great.
Yeah,
but,
DIY. Good.
But yeah, I mean, like that from that whole thing and like that introduction to that music, it kind of like spiraled off into like a, you know, me finding my own identity through that shit, you know.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
I might have answered that question. Sorry.
No.
But,
No, not at all. I love that. I mean, you know, and you mentioning Minor Threat within the drumming aspect, was that kind of like a moment where you started noticing yourself, you know, paying attention more to even like certain musicians as opposed to, you know, even just the music? Like, yeah, this sounds awesome, but how's the guitarist playing this so fast or straight? The drummer, like, who are other musicians that were popping out early?
Like Ryan Baker for sure, and then that ended up like segueing off into like Descendants, like Bill Stevenson with the big sick sounding toms.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just like there's a lot of stuff that kind of like yeah, that definitely like kind of like steered my direction for like the kind of punk that I listened to. Then like I got really into the Hives too. I remember when Tyrannosaurus Cox came out, and then like before that, Vinny Vetti Vicious too. That was like when I was like 10 or something like that, or like I think that was like the following year when I first got Minor Threat, and that kind of like that changed everything for me too. I was like, yo, this is fucking sick. Like the first time really like getting into garage rock, because that was, you know, like the White Stripes were cool, but it wasn't fast enough for me, you know.
Yeah,
like there was just
I agree.
like something that like, again, like just finding those interests that connect to the thing that you feel, you know, as in your core at the time,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
But
for sure, for sure.
yeah,
I think that. I mean, within skating and that culture, you know, that kind of counterculture and being introduced to stuff. Did you have skate videos, or did you have, you know, like
yeah,
maybe
man.
something while you're in the shop
Dude,
that introduced you to musically anything?
yeah, so like along with that, I like got really into emo without even realizing it.
Okay.
This video Trans World IE, and
Okay.
it had like, I mean, dude, their skate videos that was honestly like one of the biggest.
That's a spot.
That was it, man. Like for Trans World IE, that was like it had Mr. Dibs on it. I had like, you know, Sunny Day Real Estate.
Yeah.
Like my first time hearing Sunny Day, like the album that everybody hates. And then just like, yeah, and then the Flip videos. The Flip video, that was the first time I heard the Stooges.
Oh shit.
Flip
Okay.
Sorry. And then there was like Grey, like all these like Discord. I was like, oh shit, this Minor Threat, like with that, you know, just digging deeper into the Discord stuff. I was like, oh, Gray Matter.
Yeah.
Like that, you know, that was through the Flip video.
Yeah.
Or like, there's just so much like music that happened because of skateboarding. Like I don't think anyone would know about Death had it not been for skateboarding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, my dad attests to that too, because like, you know, there's that he knows and got to see how connected those two things were for us, you know, like growing up.
And then end up being in, like, it was in one of the Tony Hawk games too, wasn't it? Like
yeah.
obviously later on, but
and it's cool. Me and my dad both have songs in Tony Hawk.
Oh shit! Is there a Rough Francis song on there?
Yeah, on the Tony Hawk 1 and 2.
What songs are they?
Wire, and then
holy shit!
On Tony Hawk Project.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, Death is on Tony Hawk Project 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's insane! Holy shit! Okay, so my boy, he's 14, and I just recently bought like the Xbox One or whatever the fuck it is. And
yeah.
They redid like the Tony Hawk 1 and 2, and we were going through like all the music, and I swear, like Deathwire was one of the ones that we were talking about. That's so fucking wild. I did not like even piece that together.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
That is
sick.
Holy shit.
It was really cool, man, because like he's a fan of Rough Francis, and like wore our shirt and stuff like for his last 720. And
shit.
There was just like,
that's so sick.
I don't know, like we ended up talking, just like we ended up befriending each other and like exchanging numbers, and we just like share music with each other. And
damn.
One day I was like, dude, like check out this new I think you might be into it. Check out this new Rough Francis song. And he was like, oh man, this reminds me of stuff that I used to skate to back in the day. Like, I love this. And then I got an email from Activision, and I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? And
wow.
You know, they're like, yeah, you know, there's some interest in having the song in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I'm like, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, like and then I hit him up. I was like, are you? Is this real? Like, are they making Tony Hawk 1 and 2 again? And he was like, yeah. And it was funny because like they were super apprehensive about it at the beginning. Like the people that worked at Activision were like, yeah, we'll consider this and that. And then like I didn't hear from them for a while, and I was like, they were like, yeah, we don't think it's gonna be able to make the cut and this and that because blah blah blah. And I was like, cool, whatever. And I sent Tony a message, and I was like, hey man, really appreciate you just like sending that music over. I had no expectations or whatever. Like I was simply just sending you a song. And he got back to me and he's like, wait, what? What did they do? And he was like, hold on, I'm gonna make a call. I was like, what did you do? Dude, don't. And he like,
yeah, you're like, no, don't do that.
And then I got an email like 15 minutes later, and he was like, actually, you know what? Like, or from Activision, they're like, we've actually reconsidered having your song in the game.
Oh no!
Because I guess that was like after all that he told me that like that was one of the like, you know, 5 songs that he suggested to have in the new game. So
Holy shit.
it's pretty fucking
Wow.
cool, man. It's pretty
Man,
special.
that is so wild. And I mean, I'm sure like a very like coming full circle moment of, you know, like
Oh
being
my
young
god,
and
dude. I
just
mean,
that, you know,
like
like,
again, even though
holy shit.
everything with skateboarding has like, again, like everything with skateboarding has been very, very supplemental to my life.
Wow.
Um, Specifically, like, I mean, dude, the Tony Hawk games, you know, like like hearing Dead Kennedys for the first time. Like, obviously, I have like a punk background and like Cool Brothers and stuff, but I'm talking like, you know, when you discover something for yourself rather than have someone like kind of force feeding this stuff and these ideas to you, it's
Dude.
a completely different thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
all of those records were like, I grew up with like, you know, my brother had like Gorilla Biscuits and Stripe, Judge, and Youth of Today, and Chromat. Like you name it, all these records were around me. I didn't give a shit about them. Granted, like I knew that that was like something that was part of my life. And then once these things kind of like just entered into my life through like my habits, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, this all makes sense now. You know.
It's funny. I mean, because there's always like, even, you know, I feel like it's not, you know, just like a you or I thing. Like, you know, for anybody with having that energy of like your own discovery and just picking something up and be like, oh, what is this? And then asking buddies about it, like, I don't know what the fuck that is. Check it out.
Right. Sure. That was the same with like, that was the same with drums, man. Like, cause I'm my first instrument is guitar.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But like, it's funny because like the first guitar that I got was, I actually have it on the wall my wall right now.
Oh, shit.
It's like the only thing that I was able to like scrape up from my childhood that didn't get like stolen or whatever. But it's a right-handed guitar and I'm a lefty. So like I just played it upside down, kind of like learned how to play with the strings upside down. And eventually like I restrung it, but then I didn't have any strings, so I just like, there was like 2 strings on it at one point. And I was like, fuck this, dude. Like, I'm just gonna play drums. You know, like, you know, because it's like you don't need to be left or right-handed. Granted, you can play left-handed and right-handed, but like,
but you play drums right-handed, right?
Yeah, I play drums right-handed, but left, like kind of like Ringo with like a left-hand forward thing.
Dominant.
You know? So,
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
my beats are really weird. Like, but yeah, I'm left-hand dominant. I've actually like the Converge stuff. Ben is ridiculously right-handed, like so right-handed. Like it's not even. I mean, you played the licks. Like
yeah,
everything is very, very right-handed. And you know, like when I got hit up to do that tour, I had 2 weeks to learn like 20 songs, 26 songs.
Oh my god!
All of You Fail Me, and then like 16 or 18 other songs. Which is great because I love listening to Converge.
Yeah, but 2 weeks, and like for anybody who doesn't know that band, like that's not just taking on like a couple of 2-minute songs. Like,
and on top
you've
of that,
got a lot
too,
of work.
as a fan of the band, I wanted to make sure that like I wanted to see exactly what I wanted to hear, which is Ben's licks. Like I want to hear every fucking little thing that makes those songs that song. As far as like even to the bell hits or like the nuances of like the you know, how the snares being hit from light to hard, you know, like every little thing, because I'm just like that. That's like part of me being an engineer, it's just like nitpicking to a certain degree that's like almost detrimental but controllable. And with the Converge stuff, I was like, if people, like someone's going to be out there watching Converge, hoping for them to sound like Converge, you know. So that was my motivation. So like I was in the studio, like I took sessions off just to practice for like 2 weeks straight, like every single day for like, you know, like 6 hours or so, because when my daughter was in school, like drop her off at school at 8, go in, practice until 2, pick her up every day, you know. So that was like Yeah, that was pretty cool, man. That was like definitely that was gnarly. 2 weeks, and then the first practice too, like because Ben does cymbal catches. I like did a cymbal catch at God City for the first practice, and then I split in between my index and ring finger, like
Oh my God, cut.
there's actually still a scar. Yeah, that scar right there.
Oh shit.
It was it was like I could see the bone, and this was like the day
Oh
the
God.
day we're like gonna leave for Japan. Like basically, like my finger was cut open. I was bleeding all over Kurt's drums, all over all over the floor and the snare and shit. And I went to the urgent care and had like all these thick fucking bandages over my hands, and I was like, dude, how am I gonna play this show now? Like, I did all this practicing, and now I'm fucking my hands broken off, you know?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
You ended up diving right in after that too?
I mean, I had to. I would
Oh God.
I would just take like so the first two shows I would just take the bandage off. It would bleed, and then I would just wrap it back up, and then it was fine. I didn't like nothing really crazy besides a little bit of blood on the snare, but yeah,
It just makes it look, a little bit harder.
yeah,
You know
it
what I mean?
looks a little gnarly.
Looks tight. Yeah.
But it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like I'm not like a badass or anything, but like
Dude,
yeah,
just that task alone. I mean, like within that, was that something where you were wrapping your head around initially starting to learn just You Fail Me front to back and then kind of moving on from there? Or like, where was like a difficulty in this session of learning those songs, where you're like, what the fuck is he doing?
definitely, yeah, the You Fail Me stuff, just because it's so right-handed. It's so like, specifically, Black Cloud, like that
Oh
is
boy.
like the way that that's played is so right-handed that it fucks. It's just like that was the song that I probably sat with the most. Like everything else was fine because like I can figure it out and like listen back and play it in my own way. But like that song specifically is like it has to be played the way that Ben plays it because of like how right-handed it is. Um, so yeah,
Jesus.
that was a good time though. That was actually like I know that song, but I still practice the Converge set actually.
Oh shit.
Like
Okay.
I still play it every day just to like
God.
the warm up. I start my day with like warming up with the Converge set, and then I play the arm stuff, and then I play the reference stuff. Like depending on if I have sessions in the studio, like when I have ample amounts of time, or like where like a band, I'm just doing mixing, like just to be okay to like be in front of a fucking computer screen,
Sure.
surrounded by a bunch of sweet gear. Like I feel like I just have to do that so I can just get in gear and just like be okay with being there.
Now, like, where between all of these dub sessions that you do, and just kind of this like alone time, how the fuck do you find time to be able to whip apart? I mean, it's not like just a drum track and you're having other people filling in everything else. Like, you're doing all of that stuff and then making it sound good and then making sure that it goes together. Where does that time come in?
So that's like so usually when I do dubs is when I'm recording sessions or like when other bands are recording, because then I actually have my shit kind of set up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But for the most part, like I mean, on Sundays, like every now and again, I do that just to see what's working and what's not working every week or so with my console, which is it's really funny because it's like that's where that came from. It's just like I found like a bunch of problems with channel strips now that I know that I need to go back and fix, like from a couple days ago. But it's just like operating the whole thing and just making sure that things are kind of cool. But it's also a fun way to do it too.
Yeah. It gives like a practicality to it, as far as like kind of going in and fine tuning, but then also you're getting something out of it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
also.
And it's like it's really funny because now I'm like fucking, I'm like I'm like the dub guy, like I'm like,
yeah.
I'm opening up for Ziggy Marley, doing dubs, and then
holy shit, really?
Yeah. And then I'm doing dubs Jesse, Jesse Michaels, Tim, my friend Spencer, and Joey Castillo's new project too.
Holy
And
shit.
yeah, they just like it's cool. It's like it's just a cool outlet because that was when I was growing up, like the reggae thing or whatever.
Mhm.
That was like we were into punk, like me and my brothers, and then my dad was like into reggae, and we were just like, you know, we're like yeah, he has his thing, we have our thing. I kind of got
Mhm.
like I grew up like around a lot of like uh reggae legends and stuff. I was exposed to that stuff really early on. Like Augustus Pablo stayed at my house. Like
Whoa.
Mikey Dread would stay at my house and like do dubs and stuff. Um, and yeah, there was just a lot of that stuff that was kind of like ingrained in my childhood for a long time. But I never
Yeah.
really like appreciated it until I was older. Cause I was just like, dude, this shit's not fast enough. You know, like
Yeah.
I was a young fucking skateboarding freak, you know, just like always getting into trouble, always skating and listening to punk,
Yeah.
and that was like it was really funny because like our way of abstaining to my parents was like not smoking weed and playing punk, you know, or like
Okay.
we're
Yeah.
like cause we're all like straight edge and stuff growing up. It's like all right, well I guess this is like you know this is okay
Yeah.
for us to do, but like I don't, you know, that's our way of just like rebelling is like doing the opposite, which was like, you know,
So
getting into our
sick.
nerdy shit, not smoking or drinking, and like playing punk rock and skateboarding, you know.
Oh shit, that's so sick. I mean, like, I love that too. You know, as far as like within skateboarding in that realm, like it's kind of funny because like even like the dub stuff that still has its own place. You know, like you even though it's not energetic or it's not fast, like you kind of go back and you think about it. It's like this is pretty sick too. You know, like just kind of like a summery kind of feel. You know, vibe. Even though it's not fast paced and kind of get
Right,
you
right,
going. Like,
right. And it's like I connect dub with like it's like kind of for me like punk, dub, and hip hop are like the same thing, you
it's
know.
yeah.
Because it's like at the most part, like most of the time, it's like the same message,
Hmm.
you know, like the same kind of thing. And then specifically too, like the Clash. I remember when Joe Strummer died too, and that was like a big. That was a moment for me where I was like really starting to get into more of the reggae stuff. And
Oh man.
obviously, my dad was like a reggae musician, but again, like for my own, that was like that own trigger for me where I was like,
Right.
yeah, like, and then
You
I
had to
started checking
discover
out.
something on your own to make it like, oh, okay, I'll
Right,
dig a
right.
little
Because
bit
there was
more.
like the Clash self-titled, but like Sandinista. Then I got really into Sandinista.
Oh,
Just like,
okay.
and then I was like, wait, Mikey Dread produces. Oh, Mikey Dread's been to my house. Or you know, it's like all this other shit that I was like, man, like you know, I was too young to really like recognize like what was going on, but like really special shit. Um,
Man.
but yeah, man.
What about cover art? It being something where like for the longest we didn't have the opportunity of there being the internet and streaming and all this shit. Going through maybe a CD shop or a friend's house or something like that and discovering something off cover art. What comes to mind with that?
Um, you know what's really funny is the Grateful Dead. I'm not
Oh,
I've
okay.
never actually listened to a Grateful Dead record, but like that was I remember going through and digging through and being like, dude, look at this sick death metal album.
Yeah.
Like this is sick. Skulls, like there's all this, you know, skulls and shit. And then like putting it on and be like, oh man, what the fuck did I
What a
just do?
bummer.
But yeah, like that just like for me cover art is like I don't know, I guess that's not a positive experience with cover art, but like
Okay. Okay.
well, I don't know. I guess it is a positive experience. Who knows? But man, like let me try to think of a record that I just saw. I just had to have because it looked cool.
Or even just to say something like, for instance, the Armed with Ultrapop. You have that cover and knowing that band, or even, God damn it, now I can't think of the record beforehand with the dude on the front too.
Oh, Only
Um,
Love.
Only Love, Jesus, I
Yeah.
apologize. Those two records too, like that just being something where knowing the band and then seeing the cover art, it's like, whoa, like what's going on here? And then listening, it's like, oh, yeah, this is very much the Armed.
Yeah,
so insane.
I'm trying to think here. I think probably, you know what? For me, probably like Youth of Today, Break Down the Walls.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's like the classic, like, you know, like the Air Jordan style, like in the air, like
Yeah.
this action, you know, like, yo, that looks like that's
Right
gonna be fun
there.
to listen to.
Anything energetic was really pulling your eye.
For sure. And then like as I got like a little older too, like the more artistic stuff, like the Buzzcocks records, where I'm like, oh, cool, it's just like a bunch of shapes and like weird stuff, and then listening to it, I'm like, whoa, this is fucking sick. Or like the Cars, like the Cars first album.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That record, like that record always looked really cool to me, and I remember like, you know, like there's few records that look the way, like that sound the way the cover art looks, and I feel like the Cars first record is like one of the first where I was like, yeah, this is just like good.
That's like the true introduction, even before an introduction to an album. You know, musically, it's like, okay, this is the start, and the music's gonna be the
and they don't have a bad song. Like, try to name a bad Cars song.
Dude, I can't. That band, that was one of the bands that truly resonated, like, from my dad listening to. He had a couple of things I wasn't super into, but he was very much into, like, you know, like Pink Floyd or the Cars or Led Zeppelin, like that type of shit. All that's cool. But yeah, the Cars was always something where I'm like, oh, they know what they're doing. I don't know yet what it is, but they know what they're doing. Now, as far as your prep, so you playing, you know, you mentioned playing like through the Converge set and then getting through the arm, the rough Francis. May it be practicing or, you know, getting ready for a show? What goes into like a pre-show ritual, or like, you know, just prepping as far as getting yourself centered to play?
Well, I've had many rituals, and a few of them work, a few of them didn't work. But what I found has worked the best for me is just like drinking water and just like maybe like meditating for a little bit, not stretching too much, because like it's interesting because I feel like every time I've stretched too much, I like just lock up.
Really? Really weird.
Yeah. I feel like warming up with a practice pad has just been kind of helpful. Just like, I don't really know any rudiments, but just playing whatever I think is a rudiment, just like playing, you know, just playing patterns. That and drinking a lot of water has been good.
Okay.
Before, like, what I used to like drink garlic tea, which is actually really funny.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
When I recorded,
I mean, that sounds explanatory.
Garlic tea is kind of like it's a Mexican kind of like if you're sick, you know, like you'll get garlic tea, which is like lemon, garlic, and honey.
Oh,
and,
okay.
When I recorded Ultrapop at God City, I like stank up the fucking joint. Like, every morning I was drinking garlic tea, and Kurt was like, it smells like a gym in here. It smells so bad in here. So yeah, I would just like drink garlic tea all fucking day, and
oh my god,
crack drums, and then it was just like, either way though, the specifically with garlic tea or like garlic is that it oxygenates your blood. So when you have like when you're drinking water or you're like having garlic in your beverage or whatever, like it sends oxygen to your brain and your blood. So I feel like a lot. But yeah, so my ritual now is really just like minimal stretching, rudiments, and lots of water.
Huh. That's interesting, you know, because I think, you know, for like the longest time of playing and, you know, not really doing anything, somehow it seems to help a little bit with kind of throwing around your hands, your wrists, and your arms. And somebody had mentioned once that they were a runner early on in life, and like how they're, you know, kind of like doing the octopus effect and flailing around all their
definitely like do the loosey goosey thing.
And see, you know, it seems to help, but it's just interesting as far as, you know, being able to have the opportunity to hear different people's takes, you know, on what they do, and some people who are like I just take a nap before and go up. I'm like, fuck, how, dude? Like with age, I just wonder how.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely like I've tried so many different things, like smoking weed. Not like some of the shows where I've smoked weed before are just so funny. Like looking back, because I was so paranoid and just like I was just
no.
Yeah, I'm like the kind of person that like would smoke weed and just get mega paranoid and just like think everybody's trying to kill me or hates me. And the Armed played Primavera like last year, and before our set, like so it's obviously it's like pretty illegal to smoke weed in Spain, and so there was like that stigma there, and then I smoked weed, and then I was just like, oh fuck, and then I just started to get the jitters and like, it was the biggest show we've ever played before too, and I was like already just like super super paranoid. And before that, like before we went on stage, I took my COVID test that would determine whether I get to play the show or like have to stay in Spain for 2 weeks. So there was like that stress compounded with that, and I was like, I smoked weed. And then when we got on stage to play, I stretched out too much, which was like, I was fine at that point. And then I got behind the kit, and I like have tracks that go on in my ears for the art, because we have stuff synced to like a video behind me.
Okay.
And I like put the headphones on, and I was like, fuck, like they weren't plugged in, so like the thing, and I heard everything starting from the PA, like there was like the biggest crowd we ever played to, and I heard everything starting, and I was like, oh fuck, all right, well here we go. And I just like started playing along, and I was trying to signal to everybody on the like the people that were at the help on the stage, was like, help me, please, like like throw my hand up with the stick, and then they were just like looking back at me, they're like, like, oh, I wonder what's going on, because it was like so far away that they couldn't determine like what I was doing. And finally, like there's our friend that plays keys and like triggers samples, Jim. I took my drumstick and I threw it at him, because like I was like, dude, I need help. This is like, I was like 30 seconds into the song, freaking the fuck out. I took my drumstick and just wailed it at him, and he was like, what the fuck? He looked over at me and was like, and I was just like, dude, I need help. I was pointing to my ears, like, doing this, like trying while playing the song. And then like finally, one of the other dudes that like kind of like watches over the production stuff was like, he looked back at me, and he was like, and then he turned up the thing that I wasn't plugged into, and I was like, no, I need to be plugged in. And then like finally I got plugged in halfway through the set, and from that, all that shit happening, when I finally got plugged back in, I was so fucking stressed out. Like I was like beyond the point where I could play the drums, to where like I couldn't move my wrists. I was so stressed out.
Oh, dude.
It was one of those shows where I was just like playing with my arms completely, and just like, and then with the snare thing I was talking about earlier, like I didn't have a drum key, so the snare was getting looser and looser every time I was hitting it, and it was just like I didn't have the rebound. My arms were my whole fucking system wasn't working. I couldn't move my wrists.
Jesus.
Everything that you could possibly imagine going wrong went wrong that day.
Aside from being a huge show.
Yeah, exactly. Our first like massive show. I guess like aside from like like my COVID test wasn't positive, that would have been fucked. But,
right.
But yeah, that was after that moment. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna stretch like I do anymore. Like, cause like overstretching is a thing, and I definitely overdo a lot of things too. Yeah, just like doing minimal stretching and just like trying to hydrate myself, and just like clear my head and just prepare myself for stress, just in case. Cause like that was fucking crazy, man. That was like that I learned more from that show than any show I've ever played in my life. Just like being right on the, you know, right on the edge of just like not being able to, thinking I'm not be able to play the set for like the biggest crowd I've ever played for in my life, you know?
I mean, and there's so much that's going on. Like, do you have in-ears, or do you like hear separate, you know, different things, or how does that work as far as like with a huge show like that?
So if you were to listen to my mix that I have, you'd think I'm a fucking psychopath. But so like with in-ears, I can't wear in-ears because they kind of just fuck my ears up. They're uncomfortable. So
yeah.
And also like I like kind of deliberately wear headphones so people know that I'm listening to something. You know what I mean? Like it's like, you know, I something about it. Something about in-ears, I just think they're stupid. Granted, like, I love The Matrix. The Matrix is a great movie, but, like, I'm not trying to look like a fucking, you know, one of the dudes from The Matrix while I'm playing music. So, like, I wear the I wear the headphones, like the Vic Firth Rob Morgenstein or whatever, his headphones.
Okay.
And then I put tape over them because, like, they're super comfortable, and I can get into my own world while they're on. And what I'm listening back to is really just click track. It's just
really?
It's just loud click track, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You know, just like blazing loud in my ears.
You don't have any music going at all?
There's some music. Like there's like every now and again there's like maybe like a spot where like where Brian the guitar player, like he's in my ears, and I think that's about it. Brian and Kenny, the bass player, just like a little bit, but it's mostly just click track.
Oh shit! Wow, that's
a lot
awesome.
Of the stuff, like a lot of the tracks are just like, you know, from memory. There are like guides in the click track, but I've learned and just practiced to the click track so much that it's just like I know, you know, it's just like I know that pretty well.
Yeah, okay. It has that second nature feel where you're not like
adding
another stress on top of it.
It also like I like it because it like I don't feel like my purpose in the arm is, you know, like for personally it's just like holding it down as much as I possibly can. And it just like kind of keeps me in my box, you know. It's like I'm almost like playing to myself, but everybody's playing to me, kind of thing, which is really interesting. But yeah,
and it's funny that you say that too, because like you also have moments where you're doing like linear blasts, and it's like it's not just like 4/4 shit. I mean, maybe it is like actually timed out, but it's some wild, absolutely. You know, you guys say they say, you know, the best rock and roll band in the world, and Jesus, you guys absolutely kill it.
Yeah, there's a lot of blast going on for sure. It's definitely I love blasting. Nothing like it.
Now, if you can, you know, even with like Ultrapop being the most recent, bring us, you know, kind of like in a day of like writing with the band, you know, like the Armed have such an interesting, you know, even to say ebb and flow in tracks, but like throughout the album, there's just so much, you know, texture. There's so much, you know, development to it. What goes into writing and you know, just a typical session as far as with the band?
Well, I'll tell you. So like with drums specifically, the goal is like, all right, it's like, here we go, guys. I've programmed this impossible drum part. Play it. Try to play it. That's kind of what it is. It's like me trying to play impossibly programmed drum part. And it's like you know,
you know, so relatable.
Like the Morris Day and the Time 7779311.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like that's like the drum machine. It's like a drum machine, but all these people are trying to play it. That's essentially what I'm doing. Is like we program these parts that are impossible, and it's like how far can we push? How far can I push myself? It's like literally that. So.
God damn. Was there like a particular moment or track where you really had to kind of go down, or Kurt's like, hey man, this is off, and you really had to push yourself further?
What's that song? Man. because the song names change so much. I don't even actually like.
Really?
Like
Okay.
I know that, like, you know how like there's like songs where you know like the band's name for them, and then
Oh
there's
yeah.
like the album name that changes. But
Oh, okay. Okay, got you.
let me try to find the. Did I close out there?
No, I still got you.
Okay, cool. Fuck, what's the name of that song? It's like it starts out. It's like.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that song. That song, because that was like the way that was programmed was like it's not like all of those a lot of those songs in Ultrapop, like the crazier songs, like that's not how anyone should be playing the drums. Like it doesn't it's almost like Public Enemy where it's like chopped together, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm playing all those chops. It's strange. But yeah, that song probably yeah, I think that's the only one that really like fucks me up like big time. I practiced that for a long time before like hitting that.
Like, is that, is that a thing where yourself, as far as like a drummer, like you're writing down, or is it something that it's like a muscle memory from practicing and listening?
It's
Just because it's
I have my own drum Morse code that I write.
okay.
Like, so it's like like slashes and like just like shit like that I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it's just muscle memory for the most part.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'm not the best with like reading music or like
No.
understanding time signatures, but I know how to play them and I know how they sound.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
funny when you're trying to talk to like other band members too, and they're like, "Okay, we're gonna do this in 4/4," and then they like sound it out or they like beat it out, and it's like that's 3/4. That's not even right.
Right, exactly.
I'm in the same, in the same boat, where it's like I never had like any sort of like training with drums, or I played in band where like time signatures, somewhat I kind of understood, but it's just funny where somebody's like, okay, this is going to be a 8-measure part, and then you play it, and it's only like 3 or 4, and it's like,
Yeah, because I definitely
that's not right.
Like I was in a band before that was like kind of like a metallic hardcore band, like it was the 2010s.
Yeah.
But like there was never, but it was like one of those bands where like it never had like repeating parts. It was just like the
Oof.
craziest time signatures into the next part. That was a crazy time signature until like
Who is this?
Alive and Well. It was like a hardcore band that I was in for a couple of years, but I can send it to you after we get off.
Oh shit. Okay. Was this East Coast?
Say it again.
Was this East Coast? Like Vermont based?
Yeah. East Coast.
Oh shit. Okay. Damn.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, it was like we were like adjacent to Shai Hulud. Like if Shai Hulud was
yeah,
like
okay.
a little bit like, because you know how Shai Hulud is like, it's kind of like it's like kind of like pretty. Mm-hmm. It's like the guitar, like it's a little more like a little heavier in that sense.
Love it. Sounds great.
very much in that world where it's like spastic, fucking every part happens once and then never repeats again. It's just like crazy, crazy drum parts and whatever. It's kind of just like that was like my maximalist idea of music then.
Okay.
But,
sick.
Yeah. So
now,
say it again.
Oh no. I was just going to mention along with your work within this most recent Rough Francis record. This was it was probably a couple of years ago, and this most recent record was my introduction to the band. Along or aside, I guess, from like Tony Hawk and all that, and already knowing some of the stuff, but I felt like it was a little bit of a difference from like music or stuff or the sound from like previous releases. And what went into you guys and writing that newest record?
Well, we brought Kurt on for that, and we like he came up here and recorded it at our bass player's studio, and it was just like, I don't know, we're for a long time. So like when I was the early days of Rough Francis too, like me and my brothers were all like, I was much younger. I mean, we're all like the same age difference, but I was much younger. So like, I
Okay.
felt like I was still kind of figuring out what I wanted to do and what I
Oh.
liked. So it was just like, because I was playing like metallic hardcore and shit, and like Into Darkest Hour and like fucking, like
Okay.
Entombed and shit. And I was like still trying to figure out like what I was gonna do. Like I was, I don't know, still kind of like the death thing was super fresh. All this stuff was super fresh, and we were just like, all right, this is who we are. We're gonna do this thing, but like we all weren't on the same page, like as far as interests go. Um,
Yeah.
and this last record was like the first one where we all felt like we were like finally like you know like coming of age with each other and coming into like a similar territory with like the stuff that we were into. And even looking back on it now, I'm like, I still feel that same way, because like
Yeah. Okay.
the stuff that we have some stuff that you know, we've been practicing, and it's like feeling a lot better, and a lot more to our roots, to
Oh
our
shit. Okay.
hardcore and punk roots, and just the stuff that we know how to do and stuff that we like.
Sick.
So.
That's awesome. Yeah, urgent care rules. It's so sad. It was something after within being able to have this opportunity as far as the interview. I'd sent it to like some buddies and they hadn't heard the band. They're like, "Whoa! Like, how have I missed this?" Dude, it's awesome. But
That's
that
awesome,
most
man.
recent record, like that was kind of like I felt, and you're kind of even mentioning it's kind of like a coming into your own skin type thing. Like that was like where the sweet spot. I was like, oh shit, man! Like this absolutely rules, and the energy is like completely different. And yeah, I mean it's awesome. And you're mentioning like possibly there's other like writing like of new stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm actually me and Jules, the guitar player, we play. Oh, my brother too, but we play in Death now too. Like we're playing guitar in Death.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Oh,
so
you play guitar in Death?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Shit. Damn. Is
Yeah.
there
So like, say it again.
are there shows booked? I'm
There's
sorry.
no shows booked, but there's definitely some stuff in the coming future. Can't
Oh,
really. There's a lot with all bands. There's many things that that are
yeah,
coming. Or
yeah.
yeah.
Obviously, leave it there. We don't have to, have anything spoiled. That's where the fun comes, man. Like oftentimes people want to dig into and they want to fucking have all the shit leaked. Just let it be fun. Let it, be announced on its own
Hey,
time. So I appreciate
remember
that shit.
when Axe the Fall got leaked,
Yeah.
dude? Yeah,
And
that was a bit.
it was a big
Was that
deal.
like was it Metal Sucks or something like that?
I can't remember. I remember it was on some big site and like people were freaking the fuck out because it wasn't supposed to be out yet. Now, like not
Yeah.
knowing the band, I've never gotten to like ask them like their experience, but I can assume they were fucking pissed.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, I actually never asked him about that. I never asked him about that. But yeah,
Yeah, that would be something.
but like
I mean,
stuff like that though. When stuff leak, like I'm thinking about like, man, like what if like anything could leak. But I guess back then too was like a completely different landscape. But yeah,
yeah.
I promise there will be like something coming from one of those three bands.
So cool. So cool, dude. Honestly,
Yeah,
Urian, this has been absolutely sick, dude. I really appreciate the time. You have a busy Sunday and have some things going on, and hopefully we get some new dub out of that session that you might have today.
yeah,
But I do want to say thank you, man. This has been so fucking awesome. I
dude.
really
Thank
appreciate
you,
the time.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'll and for anybody jumping in late, I'll have this up on YouTube within like the next like month or so. I'll promote it and have it looking a little better so it's not the vertical shit, But yeah, this has been so sick, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Of course, man. Have a good one.
All right, man. Take care, Ryan.
All right, peace.
You're so lo-fi, a whole guy, yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.